Let me introduce you to the Casita card. This project is inspired by colorful Colombian towns and reminds me of the Casita door from the movie Encanto, complete with an initial faux engraved on the doorknob. Hey friends, welcome back to my craft room. I'm Tara from CraftTaraCreates.com, and today I have a special card for you. Step 1. Project materials and tools. To make the Casita card, you will need a few tools and materials. This layered paper craft will need glue, so grab your favorite paper crafting glue. A glue bottle with a precision tip will be really helpful for this project. Next, I will be using a brayer to make sure the cardstock is well secured to the mat. A brayer is a key component for successful intricate cardstock cuts. I love using these reverse tweezers to grab and hold small cardstock pieces. Next is the Cricut scoring stylus. A scoring wheel would work as well, with the exception of one part of this project. Along with scoring, I will be using the stylus for debossing for one optional part of the project. I'll point that out to you later. Another helpful tool when making paper crafts with Cricut is a paper bone folder. This tool helps get perfectly crisp creases. And of course, cardstock. You can see here I picked out a bunch of scraps to use for this project. There are lots of small cuts which work great for scrap pieces. Nearly all of this is thin, lightweight cardstock. One special material I'm using is foil cardstock. It is this shiny metallic-like cardstock. You will need 2 full sheets of cardstock, one letter size sheet for the card structure and one 12 by 12 sheet for the envelope. As this is a Cricut project, you will need Cricut machine mats. I used both a blue light grip mat and a green standard grip mat for this project. Lastly, you will need a Cricut machine. This project is sized for either the Cricut Explorer or the Cricut Maker model machines. Not pictured here, but I often use a Cricut spatula to help remove cardstock from the mat. Also, I will use a thin piece of foam for one part of this project. More on that later. Alright, we're ready to move on and get this project set up. Step 2. Prepare your project in Cricut Design Space. Open Cricut Design Space and select New Project. For this project, I'm using the included project cut file. Double-click the zip file to open a folder with the cut file and license. Locate the cut file called svg-casitacard.svg, and this is the cut file that will be uploaded into Cricut Design Space. Click Upload on the left side and then click Upload Image. You can either click the Browse button or drag and drop the cut file into the Cricut Design Space window like this. You will see both the card and envelope designs. Go ahead and click Upload on the bottom right side. Next, click on the card and envelope design so that the green outline is around it, and click Add to Canvas. The first thing to do is double check the size. Sometimes the frequent updates in Cricut Design Space can affect the cut file sizes. I'll go ahead and double check the file is 20 inches wide. 19.999 inches is close enough for me. Next, ungroup the design so we can prepare the project. Let's add the score lines to the envelope. Select this big red rectangle and click on the Operation drop-down menu. Select Score from the menu. This will change the lines of the red rectangle to score lines. I'm going to change the color of the envelope by selecting the shape and click on the color box at the top of the screen. I'm going with a light purple color to match the paper I have on hand. To keep the score lines on the envelope shape, we need to attach them together. Select the score lines layer and the envelope layer by holding down the Shift key and click on each layer. Then select Attached at the bottom of the screen. We have one more score line to adjust. Select the line in the center of the card structure. Then click on the Operation drop-down menu and select Score from the menu. I need to do the same thing here to attach the score line to the card. Select the score line layer. Mine is still highlighted from the previous step. Hold down the Shift key and click on the card structure. Make sure that both layers are selected. Then select Attach at the bottom of the screen. The layers on the right side layer panel are showing the layers from top to bottom. So if any of the layers moved, you can drag them down to show the front features of the card. Here I am moving the card structure layer down the list so that the doorknob layer is above it. That way I can see the front of the card better. Okay, here's the optional part I mentioned in the Material and Tools section. I want to faux engrave an initial on the doorknob, which will be cut with foil cardstock. This is where the scoring stylus helps, or you can use a debossing tool if you have it. Select the text tool on the left side, type the initial you want to use. Next, I need to find a writing font to use. Click on the font drop-down at the top of the screen. To find writing fonts, I uncheck Current and applied a filter to show writing fonts only. Take a moment here to find a font you love. Feel free to pause this video if you need some time. I am using a Cricut font called BFC Ballgame. Once the font is selected, click on the Style drop-down at the top and select Writing, and change the operation to Score. Let me zoom in here to adjust the letter onto the doorknob. Take a moment to resize the letter over the doorknob. I use the arrow keys here to move the letter. Another way to be sure the letter is centered is by selecting the letter and the doorknob circle. Then click the Align drop-down and choose Center. The letter still seems a little big, so I'll resize it a little bit here. Then I'll recenter on the doorknob. Okay, looks good. Just like with the other score lines, we need to attach the score line to the layer we want it to be on. So with both the letter selected and the doorknob layer selected, click Attach. Great, our project is ready to go. Let me zoom out so we can see everything. When you are ready, click Make It at the top to send the project to your Cricut machine. In the Prepare Mat screen, you can see all the different colors on each mat. This view is helpful because you can double check the score lines or where you want them to be. You can see on the blue mat, there is a score listed. Select that mat and you can see where the score line is. I will do the same check with the purple envelope mat. Everything looks good, so I will go ahead and click Continue. At the Set Base Material screen, select the type of cardstock you are using. Alright, gather up the tools and materials you need, and I'll see you in the next section. Step 3. Cut all the pieces with your Cricut machine. The Casita card project has a lot of intricate cuts in 9 colors. Cutting this project by hand would be really difficult, but with Cricut we could take advantage of the precision and accuracy of the machine. So for the sake of time, I'm not going to show you all the cuts, but if you are following along, watch this section and then pause the video to catch up. I'm going to review how to cut regular and foil cardstock with Cricut and how to use the scoring stylus. Add your cardstock to a machine mat and load it into the Cricut machine. Click the Flash and Go button when you are ready and let the Cricut machine do its thing. To remove cardstock from the mat, turn over the mat and use a spatula to push down the cardstock and peel back the mat. This eliminates curving or rolling of the cardstock and keeps the cardstock nice and flat. If you remember in Cricut Design Space, the blue layer is the outer structure of the card and we added a score line. So I'm adding the scoring stylus to the A clamp. The stylus is added the same way as a Cricut pen. Once the stylus is added, the Cricut machine will both score and cut. To successfully make intricate cuts with your Cricut machine, like with the ornate door of this card, there are a few tips I want to share with you. First is the mat. You want to find the right balance of stickiness and releasability. For the most part, the blue light grip mat works for cardstock. But if the mat isn't all that sticky anymore, well, tip number 2 is for you. The second tip is use a brayer. Rolling your brayer over your cardstock will ensure the whole sheet is well secured to the mat, even if your mat isn't as sticky as it used to be. The brayer will make up for that by ensuring every inch of the material is secure and no air bubbles are hiding. The last tip is with the Cricut blade. The Cricut machine blades do wear out over time. I replace mine 2 or 3 times a year. If you find that you have to repeat cuts or that your machine isn't cutting a material all the way through like it once did, it may be time for a new blade. To cut the foil cardstock, I used a green standard grip mat. That is because foil cardstock is thicker and the material setting I use does 2 cut passes. Let me show you in Cricut Design Space how to set up this cut. Select Browse All Materials on the right side of the screen. This will pull up a big list of materials with predefined cut settings. Scroll down to the cardstock section and look for the type of cardstock you are using. For the foil cardstock I use the holographic cardstock setting. Next, click on Edit Tools to change the tool selection. For this cut, I will be using the scoring stylus. Now the Cricut machine knows to expect the scoring stylus. If you remember in Cricut Design Space, we added an initial to be scored or faux engraved into the doorknob circle. The Cricut machine will use the scoring stylus to add the initial into the doorknob. This technique works really well with foil cardstock. Alright, we have 9 colors cut out and we are ready to assemble this colorful card. Step 4. How to assemble your card. All the pieces are cut out. Let's get started with putting the card together. Before you fold any of the score lines, let's add the brown piece to the inside of the card. First, double check which way the brown piece goes. I find it's easiest to line up this piece with the window spindles because they have unique shapes. Add your favorite paper glue to the back and add the brown card. Doubling the inside of the card really helps make the card more sturdy, especially with the peek-through window opening. Let's let that dry for a bit. Next, I'll put together the floral garland for the inside of the card. I'll lay the flowers down first to make sure I know where they go on the garland. There are 3 purple flowers and they go on first. Here I'm using reverse tweezers to grip the small cardstock pieces. Reverse tweezers are designed with a reverse grip feature, allowing them to grab material and stay secure without constant pressure applied. Reverse tweezers act as an extension of your fingers and make placing small paper cuts more precise. Okay, let's move on to the next layer of flowers. The pink flowers go on top and sort of in between the purple flowers. Next, I will create the butterfly by combining the two layers. I think the foil cardstock makes this butterfly extra special. The butterfly has its own spot on the floral garland. Line up the bottom of the butterfly to the matching spot on the garland. The floral garland is done. Let's add it to the white piece, which will be added to the inside of the card. The garland matches up to the top of the white piece. Use the top edge to line it up. Now I can fold the score lines. Use the paper folder to get the best crease. Add glue to the white card insert, then align the card insert to the bottom of the card and centered on the sides. Great job, we are nearly done. Now to add the doorknob and details to the front of the card. Add the top of the door detail piece just below the window opening with glue. Add the doorknob plate first with glue. Lastly, add the engraved doorknob. This is optional, but I'm going to add a thin piece of craft foam to give the doorknob a little dimension. I'm using a true control knife, which is just like an X-Acto knife, to cut a small piece of thin 1/8 inch craft foam. I'll add just a small spot of glue here to make sure the doorknob stays in place. All done, your Casita card is ready to go. Let's quickly finish up the envelope. I sped this part of the video up. Fold on the score lines and use the paper folder on the creases. Fold up the larger flat side, then fold in the 2 round edge side flaps to create the envelope. Add glue to the flaps and your envelope is ready. I love the details of the see-through window on the Casita card. The window shows just enough for the reader to know something special is inside. The shiny butterfly is a beautiful contrast over the flowers. Oh, and let's not forget the faux engraved doorknob. Another fun surprise. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I hope this workshop sparked your creativity or you learned something new about your Cricut machine.